Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, people of all ages, welcome back to the Sticky Floors podcast. I am one of your hosts, CJ, and I am joined by Mr. Will. And today we are talking about the movie Gladiator 2. So Gladiator 2 is in theaters right now. It's fist fighting Wicked in the movie theaters. We're not talking about Wicked today, though. We're going to be talking about Gladiator 2. Heavy spoilers for this
Oh
movie.
yeah.
So if you have not seen it yet, you might want to go see it first and then come back and listen to us, or you can listen to us now and go see it anyway. We might help to flesh out some things that you can really focus on the next time you watch it. Also, just as a quick heads up, last week we did Gladiator, so we did the original, kind of the first time we've done a movie and its sequel in 2 weeks in a row like this. So if you want to have those nostalgic memories of Maximus past what they showed you in this movie here, you can go back and check that one out. We're gonna have some fun talking about this, man. So I'm looking forward to getting into it. Mr. Will, what's going on with you today, my brother? How are you doing?
I'm chilling, man. What's going on with you, CJ?
I'm good. I'm good, man. I'm good. Like I just like similar to you, I just saw this last night, so it's really, really fresh in my mind. I thought it's got some funny things to it to me. I don't know if it is funny or not, but it's funny to me a little bit, so I'm having some fun talking. That's fun talking about it. All right. Well, look, man. Let's jump into it. Let's get into the synopsis, and then let's have some fun with it.
Oh, but before we do that, I wanted to shout out two people who had commented on some things. One person actually sent CJ a personal joint, and they were making reference to some of our cliches, me in particular. And I didn't even realize that I happen to say this a lot, man. So this might be my new catchphrase. So be on the lookout for some merchandise. I
Wait, what's
say,
the catchphrase though? What's the phrase
some
though?
things of that ilk.
Things of that ilk. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I might
So
put that on a t-shirt.
yo, it should be on it. Yeah. So shout outs to my man Kasim
Yeah,
for sharing that comment and everything. He's been a listener from day one
yeah,
and a supporter from day zero. So thank you very much for that comment. Yeah. The Sticky Floors merchandise, that's in the
oh
works.
yeah, that definitely is.
That's in the works, man. But
Yeah,
things of that ilk, that's a good one, man. And
yeah,
then you had
yeah,
another person.
yeah. I can't think of the gentleman's name, but he had mentioned some potential suggestions that CJ and I had been ruminating about, and you might find it in future episodes. So be on the lookout for that. But definitely appreciate the increase in followers. Definitely appreciate these individuals and others for highlighting some things and making those suggestions. Keep them coming because, as CJ does says continuously, it helps us to make the not only the platform grow, but for us to get better. So we are
Absolutely.
definitely inspired by your thoughts, concerns, and continue sharing.
Absolutely. And also just as a heads up, when you're commenting, if there's movies that you want to see us do,
Oh yeah, yeah,
let
definitely.
us know, man. Let us know. We got a couple of referrals.
Yeah.
So we'll be building those shows in, and you let us know the movies that you want us to talk about. We'll
Yeah.
work them into the show.
Yeah, definitely. That latter part that CJ just raised is key for me, at least, because there are certain movies that I'm very quizzical about, that I have played in my head, like how would this take over in this climate? Would we be wasting our time essentially talking about them and discussing them? What's the relevancy? So keep them coming because it'll help us not only add them to the dossier, but to also explore those themes maybe in another movie.
Yep, no
Yeah,
doubt. No
yeah.
doubt.
But with that being said, I'm going to get into the synopsis. Gladiator 2 continues the epic saga with a unique symmetry of drama and action set in ancient Rome, rich with a graphic and gritty concoction of power, intrigue, and vengeance. It portrays Lucius, portrayed by Paul Mescal, grappling with the reverence for the late Maximus while facing the despotic rulers of the empire, encapsulating a legacy of betrayal and chaos. The narrative unfolds with Lucius' compelling journey into the Colosseum, where suspense, strength, and honor intertwine, highlighting his intense struggle against despair and disparity.
There it is. There it is. So I just want to put a quick disclaimer out there. I'm gonna mess up everybody's name except for Robbie. Except for that one character's name. I'm probably gonna mess up everybody else's. So, my modern 2024 tongue has not quite adjusted to ancient Roman dialect. So right from the beginning, if I mess up people's names, that I just want to let y'all know that's what that is.
I'm gonna
So
double
Mr.
down
Will,
on that, man.
you're gonna mess them up too?
I'm butchering somebody's name.
Yeah, you're
I'm telling you that right now.
usually pretty phonetically sound though with that.
Yeah.
But okay, so I just want to just go back and just talk about something real quick. So this movie comes out same weekend as Wicked,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is a musical, not quite along the lines of Joker 2.
Mm.
And I know they've been trying to get a lot of people into the theaters to see it. I'm curious, when you went to go see Gladiator 2, was the movie theater packed when you saw it?
So I haven't. I have a short but not long, and it's intentionally short, not long. Story. Short version is I go to log on to buy the tickets early. No one reserved tickets.
Oh,
No
okay.
one.
Okay.
I was the only person that you know how you click on the joint and
Yeah.
AMC and you can see
Yeah.
no one, nada, nothing. I
Hmm.
go to the theater, and we're sitting down, and I kid you not, full house.
Yeah.
Full house. And I'm not
Yeah.
talking like I waited months or even weeks to purchase the tickets. I mean, like, yo, I bought them joints in person the day before. Because when I
Yeah.
tried to do it online, I couldn't redeem my points. So
Yeah.
I was like, yo, what's the deal? Go there in person. They're like, oh, you can pick wherever you want.
Hmm.
Different story that day of
The
different
day was
story that
packed.
day, that night.
Yeah.
Simultaneously though, it you know what it reminded me of? And I know I don't can't say I know what's in your head, but I think what you're getting at is the whole Barbie, what you call it?
Barbie
Yeah.
Oppenheimer joint. Yeah.
And quite frankly, yes, it was the same like dual spearheaded, and I believe it's intentional, and I believe
Yeah. It
that
is.
that dichotomy, as it did over the summer when those two films dropped, was again done under the premise or the guise of to politicize and tribalism in its fullest manifestations.
Yeah. 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 My theater was packed too.
Yeah.
So packed to the brim. And my experience was a little different. When I tried
Mm,
to when every like as I looked at later showings, so the first I was actually trying to move my showing back a little bit, that was
mhm.
packed. So
Really?
I went to like a 7 o'clock showing. The 9 o'clock and 11 packed already.
Mm.
They were full. So myself like to say is this joint's gonna make some dough.
Oh
Right.
yeah. Oh
That's the
yeah.
thing. Like that's the thing. It's gonna make some dough. I think the numbers I was hearing about 350 to make it. I think it was like it's maybe I got it mixed up with the Wicked joint, but either way, both of them, they're gonna pull that cream in. So that's interesting there. All right, so yeah, so yo, and you said I don't know if you saw this in your theaters, but they have like these popcorn boxes that look like the helmets of like Roman soldiers and
Mhm.
everything, and they had the Maximus joint. So whenever there's a special popcorn box, that means that it's a major motion picture.
Well, first and foremost, let's go back for a minute. This is right now off of the New York Times. Um, Quote, Ridley Scott's Gladiator 2 collected about 56 million in North America, including previews for a worldwide total since arriving in overseas release earlier this month of about 220 million.
Oh wow, okay,
So
cool. So it's doing this thing.
yeah, it's definitely going to
It's
do
doing this
numbers.
thing. Yeah, yeah. And let me just say this for anybody listening right now. This is worth watching. It's
Oh
worth
yeah.
watching. It's worth the movie
Spoiler alert.
experience. Yeah, right. It's worth the movie experience. And I enjoyed watching the movie. Right. So we're gonna do our somewhat of our normal thing, but I do want to say that because I know it's been some joints that we did that just came out. We killed them. We killed them right from the beginning. But this is
Well, they
not.
would deserve it. I mean, let's keep it 100. Yeah, one thing you can expect from the two of us is an unbiased and a very practical analysis. Simultaneously, we're never going to pull punches. We're going to keep it 100. It is what it is.
And let's jump into that. So all right, so Gladiator 2. So couple things. I'm just gonna say like one of the things that I thought like kind of jumped out is like, okay, so this is my hot take. So
Mm,
Rome is the Dallas Cowboys.
mm,
Shout out to all the Dallas Cowboys fans, right? And I know you're gonna make a lot of enemies, but
mm.
maybe a lot of friends from saying this too, right? the thing about the movie that I thought right from the beginning was interesting is how you see where Gladiator 1 ends, right? Gladiator 1 ends with Maximus kind of with his dying, literally his dying breath, sort of trying to restore Rome
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
the people. And then Gladiator 2 starts, and then like right away, it's back to the same despotic nonsense
Mm-hmm.
again. Maybe even worse, because now they got like two guys together that are kind of like half a Commodus, like
Half a comments.
the
That's
two,
what
the
we
both of
do.
them together, they're half a matter of fact, yes. So once again, I'm not gonna get their names right, but when I say half a Commodus, I'm talking about the two emperors that are there now.
Half
So
a
you
comments.
got like half a Commodus, right? And the thing is, it's still the same
Uh,
Rome doing the same grisly, dirty stuff, and it's like there's this conversation throughout the movie of what Rome could be, based on what it was supposed to be in the beginning. And the reason why I draw the Dallas Cowboys thing, and I know this is like kicking the dog when it's down, but it's like if you're ever in an area, like I'm in the DC area, right? And it's like Cowboys fans everywhere. And the thing is like everything goes back to like the 90s, like, Troy Aikman, Emmett Smith. And then everyone thinks that's like that's how it is now, but it's not. Like really, the joint's been on decline for 30 years. And it's like you watch people in this movie and talking about Rome, like Rome's gonna be great, Rome's gonna get back. And I'm watching, I'm like, yeah, I get you. I hear the hope that you're selling, the hope dealership that's happening.
oh,
But
yeah.
really, the what you're watching is the slow decline of Rome. And Rome is not going to be okay. Even at the end of this, I know Lucius takes over and everything. That's gonna be good for like 6 months. And then the joint's going back down the tubes again.
All right. So there's a lot to dissect right there, man. There is a
That's
lot.
my first. That's my first of my hot takes. I got three. I
You
got
got
two
three of
more.
them bangers. Okay.
I got two more.
Once we get the special effects up and running, you're gonna see like flames around CJ all the time because he's murdering dudes. He's scorched earth policy. But with that being said, I l- I can't front. I like the parallel because I think I envision where you're going with Rome and Dallas. As far as like you know, Jerry Jones is the animated narcissist who has to have his hand in everything, and typically these corrupt rulers from Commodus to Caligula to Nero to Greta, and here's my first butchering of the name, Cacalis.
Whatever. Yeah.
Um,
Them.
these two,
Oh, them. The
no,
brother. The brothers
Caracalla.
Grimm.
Yeah,
The brothers
Caracalla. There
Grimm.
it is, Caracalla. Because these are actually historical figures. So that's why I kind
Correct.
of want to get it right. But the fact that there is a sense of insanity, there is uh, a decline in cognitive abilities,
Mm-hmm.
there is that cognitive dissonance. So I get that, and like they say, the best intentions paved the road to hell. So I understand, the fervor and the fanaticism with respect to both of these camps. The
Yeah.
people of Rome literally expanded all the way from Britannia or
Yep.
Britain or England, whatever you want to call it, all the way even into certain parts of Asia, such as India, such as even parts close to the China border.
Yeah.
So with that said, I get it where, even the influence here in the United States is rampant, from the money to
Yeah.
the various Latin phrases that are used. But ironically enough, Latin is a dead language, even though there are Romantic languages such as
Yeah.
Spanish, French. So I get that part. Um, and Italian, of course. But the part where I'm having difficulty connecting the dots is you made a reference to 30 years ago, a decline.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess my pushback would be Dallas has been a 12-win team, consistently for over the past decade, let's just say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they've had very strong players,
Yeah. Yeah.
they've done
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with Rome, and especially in this movie, um, I would say that there has been a steady decline, almost a dramatic decline in the sense of leadership and
Yep.
responsibility that these individuals have undertaken. The Senate, And I think the scene in this movie that capsulizes this is where my man Dondas um, gets appointed as a as not second but first.
Yeah.
Uh, um, I forget the term he
First
used.
in command, but wait.
Yeah,
So just so everybody know, Dondas is a monkey. Dondas is a small monkey.
a
Like
chimp.
it's not a real person. like
No,
okay.
no.
So I just want to make sure like that's a low point. Like once you put a monkey in charge of the country, the second
Yes.
in command, that's a problem. That stuff has gone off the rails.
Yeah, and especially when Denzel's the first one mockingly to say "Hail Dantes," and
Hell, Dondas,
he
right,
puts that
right,
down.
and this so right, and this so we can modernize this as a problem. Let's just say, imagine at your job, your boss comes to you one day and says, "Hey, from now on, the VP is Sparky, my dog.
Got CC
Okay,
Sparky on all
CC
correspondence.
Sparky on all your emails, all the memos. Make sure Sparky is on them now. In
Yeah,
fact, before you talk to me, talk to Sparky first, and Sparky will talk to me. That's where Rome is in this
that's
movie.
the
That
American Gangster joint, another
that's
Denzel
how
classic.
far off the map this thing is gone. But this is the thing though, right? When I'm saying that, and I'm having fun with the Cowboys fans, right? But the thing is, like in the stock market, right? They always say you want to be invested in a company that has higher highs and higher lows,
Hmm.
right? So everything is going to go, everything that goes up is going to come down to some point. But what you don't want to be in is a situation where it's got lower highs and lower lows, meaning that it's going down the whole time. And there might be these inflection points where you have something really work out, looks good. Like at the end of the first Gladiator, Maximus killing Commodus, that was like the inflection point, like things were going up, right?
Yeah,
But then you see the lower low is now you got, the half Commodus brothers, right, doing their damage in dirt, right? And now at the end of this movie, Lucius takes over. Now Lucius is like a little bit of a higher high. But like I said, fundamentally, and this is like not even outside the historical part, which you talked about very well. Outside the historical part, you can just see that fundamentally Rome is screwed.
mm,
It's not going to work. And the reason why is because it's become a society where, number one, it is comfortable exploiting people,
mm.
right? In this movie, they make a big showing of how many people are begging for money in the street.
Yes,
You see that a lot more, right? Then you have that juxtaposed against the gross decadence of the Senate.
yes.
Everybody is sold. Got so much
Lavish and
gold on.
luxury.
Everything Denzel is wearing. I want to wear that to
Ooh,
Thanksgiving dinners. Like
Ghostface
hot, like
Killer.
fly, right? Exactly. He dressed like Ghostface, right? He's all he's missing is the arm joint,
Yo, he had
this
mad
is
rings.
the eagle on his arm, right?
He had mad rings and the
So
trunk cable, the
right,
jewelry.
right. So you have a society that's comfortable exploiting people, right? You have a society that's fighting wars for no other reason but to expand territory.
Mm,
You have everybody starving in the streets. The Imperial Guard turns on the people,
mm,
right, and puts them as willing to threaten them and put them to death.
mm-hmm.
And now you have this environment where everybody can get it, and the people that are getting it the most are the ones that are trying to make things for the better.
Agreed.
So if that's the underpinnings of where Rome is at the time of this movie, even Lucius at the end, his victory is like stopping the tide, but it's not changing the direction of the war.
See, and that's another part where I have a little confusion to say the least, because he gives
So
an eloquent speech. Yeah, ironically enough, saying that he's not an orator, but here
yeah,
he is giving another speech.
yeah.
Um, and he acknowledges that yes, there was a dream called Rome. However,
Mm-hmm.
that has since died and is now passe. Yet we have to forge a new destiny, a new fate, a new alliance with one another, reconnect and forgiving our sins against each other. And I think that is key too, because there can't be unification if the house is still remaining divided based
Yeah,
upon these different ideologies of what Rome should be.
yeah.
Um, I think the fact that throughout the movie, a major theme is two wrongs making a right. Yes, the scene in which Denzel, who's been a riddle, cloaked in a mystery, wrapped in a riddle, you know, his being such an enigmatic individual um, is key because he tells Lucius off the rip, like, yo, you don't have any clue who I am. I know who
Yeah.
you are. Where he blatantly comes out and says such. towards more of the latter parts of the movie. And in fact, throughout the movie, he's scheming, he's conniving, but he's
Yeah.
charismatic. He is loquacious. He tells you from the rip, I speak every language. He's
Yeah.
learned.
Mm-hmm.
He is a man's man. He's equally skilled with the blade as well as the tongue. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm using that as a Wu-Tang reference. Shout out to the Wu-Tang dunks that just dropped too. With reference to his character, it reminds me of his great grandson, Detective Alonzo Harris. CJ and I would bugging about that joint. Um, and ironically enough, it is another thespian who doesn't have melanin that he shows like, nah, this is how you get it done. This is the master class in which I'm about to learn you. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Denzel's cooking in the whole movie, man.
yeah,
He
man,
is.
he gets
He
busy.
is. He is.
Um,
But
but
what are you saying? So you were saying something though about like
yeah,
about the part of the degradation part of Rome. So what do you
yeah.
mean by that?
So I think between now we're gonna juxtapose a little bit, a little comparison and contrast. In the first flick, which we did intentionally, shout out to CJ, brilliance once again on screen. Uh, you see how there are the business women in the sale of their body
Mm-hmm.
are engaging the gladiators in public, and
Mm-hmm.
some of that could be compared to a groupie.
Mm-hmm.
She's an admirer of the band, et cetera, because these were the heroes of that day. Simultaneously, in this flick, now that's turned to straight homelessness,
Yep.
desperation, destitute individuals
Mm-hmm.
who are now asking for any type of penance, food, et cetera, et cetera. You'll even see some of the individuals who have migrated to Rome, who have like, in one in particular, there was a lady who was in a scarf. She looked like of a swarthy complexion, but she had these like lesions on
On
the
her
lower,
face, yeah.
yeah,
I thought it was leprosy.
leprosy. I
Yeah.
thought so
Mm-hmm.
too, and I thought it was intentional, where they show that disease has now infested both the
Mm-hmm.
physical manifestation on the people and the populace, as well as into the Senate itself, echoed by Hail Dondas. Oh, we're
Yeah.
going to do this. Denzel putting the head of a Roman emperor of Gaeta on the display and turning it around like, yo, I can get this dude out of here. That's the
Mm-hmm.
easy part. The next
Yeah.
part is you guys swearing allegiance to me, which,
Yeah.
mind you, there was a emperor, Marcinus, who actually did that very same thing. He did get rid of Caraculus. He did then in turn become stamped as the emperor. He was not of the Senate. He wasn't. He didn't have family ties or whatever have you. So some of this stuff is historically accurate. But with that in mind, I guess overall, some of the connections on CJ's initial hot take, even though he's having fun with the Dallas Cowboys, I do want it to hammer home the point that um, Rome as an idea can remain and does remain prevalent for centuries.
Mm-hmm.
There is a decline, yes, but then, as CJ mentioned again very eloquently with his comparison of the stock market, they rise again and then drop again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, would you say it's safe to say then that Rome echoes more so along the lines of present day today? That's where I would go drawing the comparisons.
Yeah, I mean, you could obviously you could make that case, and it's not by accident that
Mm,
this episode is called like make Rome great again, right? Because that's kind of where
mm,
things are, right? And I think that gets to a really really interesting point about like what does the decline of an empire look like,
right. How would you
right?
know it when you see it?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the things that we talked about, right? If you see a country that becomes comfortable with the exploitation of others and the exploitation of their own citizens, when you see that the citizenry becomes more and more interested in the games
Mm,
and the sport and the destruction and the chaos and the tragedy as distractions from dealing with the real issues, which is the corruption and the loss, the greater and greater losses of freedoms.
mm,
But the distractions are there. Then those are examples of decline. And it's not like, yes,
mm,
this movie's talking about Rome, but that story of decline has happened hundreds of times for hundreds of civilizations on every continent. There have been great societies that collapsed. And Like, I don't know, I don't know exactly where it comes from, who exactly said it, but like the destruction always happens from within
Yes. Yeah.
before it comes from without, right? The thing is that Rome is the people, and just like the one of like the the half communist dude says, let them eat war. Like people, everybody is excited about watching two men try to kill each other with some monkeys in the middle of it, and then some sharks and some sharks with lasers on their heads. Like everything that you can imagine, every new way to kill people, you're
Lasers.
coming up. Right, you're coming up with it. I mean, Rome, even they even make like even like a sort of light illusion, if you will, to Jesus when they're talking about like, well, we're gonna crucify, they're gonna crucify Lucilla, right? And he's like, and even when Marcinus, because that's Denzel's
Martians. Yeah.
Marcinus, right? So even when Denzel's like, or Marcinus is like, well, no, we say crucifixions for like thieves and like whatever,
Christians.
right? And Christians, he even says, and Christians, right? But even a society will come up with murdering people through crucifixion is done, because that's like one of the most heinous ways that a human being could be murdered, and that's what you did. That's y'all sport. So, and it's a sport that everybody's taking what is it, taking part in, and it becomes enjoyable. And of course, that's the past lynching. And the modern day lynching is people hanging people from trees, or maybe it's like executing people in an electric chair. Whatever the case is, yeah, those parallels are 1,000% there. And as a society goes through that decline, and the decline is in the people, yeah, that's where you get. That's why you get where you get where we are, man. Without Lucius coming to save everybody.
See, and that's interesting. One, you do have this Christ-like figure in Lucius, where he is literally resurrecting his father,
Mm-hmm.
spirit of vengeance. He's wearing his armor, which saves
Mm-hmm.
him. That
Yeah.
breastplate covering his heart from being stabbed there. So
Yeah.
all the alliteration, the figurative, and the allegorical references are there. He's in the water being a symbol of life. He's had dreams in which
And we've
uh,
heard, yeah.
of rebirth. Yeah, he's had dreams of being reunited with his wife as she is taking across the river Styx. Even though I know that's a Greek joint, but
Yeah. But I
still
got that. I
Greek
saw
in
it. Yeah.
Rome.
Yeah.
Um, but the thing that like gets me is this: one, each great nation, and let's just use the U.S. for example, is always on the precipice of self-destruction, and
Mm-hmm.
and I automatically see this figure of the Ouroboros, the snake eating itself. But yet, I'm also seeing images in my head of the phoenix, where you're rising from the ashes and you're able to capitalize off of that. So, a good analogy would be the three major religions being in the so-called Holy Lands and building
Yeah.
itself off of each other's in save for
Mm-hmm.
in Jerusalem, for example, where literally the mosque, the temple, and then the church are literally on the same ground, built on the same things, worshiping pretty much the same things, and a part of the same lineage, where Muslims truly believe in the great prophets, and the prophets originating from the Abrahamic tree. So therefore, I get that. Even in Rome itself, you can literally go today and see um, what's his name, Hadrian's Wall, which
Mm-hmm.
demonstrates them being there. So each great nation, what I'm getting to, is building off of each other, and even though they may bend, they don't break. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I'm saying I don't see how you would be able to recognize the decline, because here in this movie, where Lucius, he says, I met him once. He talked to me. He was
Yeah.
kind.
Yeah.
Obviously he met him more than once. Obviously he talked to him more than once. But the point is that image, that conversation was so everlasting and so impactful that it has helped
Mm-hmm.
to steer him into the man that he is today. I think that with respect to Lucius, though, he would be doing his father a disservice if he didn't try to enact and build upon what it was he was doing. He wouldn't be a true son of Maximus Decimus Meridius of the
Yeah.
Roman legions. That joint is impactful.
But here's the thing, though, and I'm glad you brought up the Lucius character, because, in a sense, it's kind of like the hero's journey, which we
Hmm.
see over and over again in movies like this. The thing that strikes me with Lucius's character is that Okay, so you learn the backstory. His mom sends him away
Hmm.
because she's afraid that he would be killed because he's the living heir to the throne, right?
And that's also
And
what they did to young boys when greedy politician men,
yeah, of
which is
course.
so crazy.
But he has no, but it's like he's sent away by his mother, who allegedly wants things to change,
Hmm.
but she has no plan to bring him back. And she has no plan
Well, we
for
don't know
him
that.
to one day. Well, we know that she lost sight, she lost track of him.
See, and that's
She
one of
lost
my
track of
questions.
him.
That's one of my
And
questions.
she okay, so I don't yeah. So we'll get to the question.
Mm.
So like she's lost track of him. She was surprised when she saw that he was alive and ended up in the arena fighting, right? So and she also for a second didn't even recognize that it was him for sure, except for that poem that he has, right? That she taught him. But the thing is that like if Lucilla is believes in the idea of the free roam, and if Lucius, and I'm gonna give him a little bit of a break on this because he was a child and all kind of happened, also believes in the idea of the free roam for the people, then there should have been a trajectory to return him and to return them to Rome to that space. What I would suggest is that everybody has actually gotten comfortable with the status quo.
Ooh, that's
And
another
that's
hot take.
and that's when that's like one of my hot takes. But that's part of the problem. The problem is like even the senator, the old senator with the
Crackus,
white hair,
guys.
yeah, the who actually gets killed in this one finally, right? He's still
Another one
on
of
the
mine.
Senate. He's still on the Senate. He was on the Senate and Marcus Aurelius was running it. He was on it when it was Commodus. Now it's the Commodus half brothers. He's still there. No one is doing anything different.
Uh,
Everybody's still doing the same thing. Even the whole we got to overthrow the government to return it to the people. That story's been done. That's the old version of the Matrix. Like this is now we're getting to my hot take number two.
hit him.
Hot take number two is what these movies are showing, whether it's the Matrix, which we've done, which we covered by the way, great show, go watch it, or if it's Star Wars, is this continuing story of no matter what, you always end up back in the same place again.
Mm.
So remember, Matrix Revolutions ends. Apparently, the humans are going to be free and
Hmm.
everything. Matrix Resurrection starts. Everybody's back in the Matrix again. Same thing, same resistance, same machines. Maybe it's changed a little bit, but essentially it's the same thing. You get to the Star Wars, what is it? The Force Awakens.
Hmm.
I remember sitting in the movie theater watching and thinking, like, wait a second. There's basically an empire again, although they call it the First Order. There's basically a Darth Vader, although it's Kylo Ren. There's basically an emperor, although it's whatever that thing's name was. And it's the same story, right? Rome is doing the same thing. All these people have gone and died and everything came back, but they're still in the same thing, which is the leadership is corrupt. We're trying to throw them over. We want to kill people in this arena and figure out crafty ways to do it. The bottom line is that when the society itself gets comfortable with that, it's already in decline. And there are cultural dynamics and ways of perceiving reality that suggest that you're always going through that process no matter what. So everything is going through decline and rebirth all the time. It just so happens that the decline part is an inevitable of the rebirth, but the rebirth doesn't mean the same thing. The rebirth is something else. So like let's say Rome falls and then it becomes Europe. And then, Europe kind of falls and now it becomes America. Now America is like, America's on the ropes right now. So maybe it's something else.
Or maybe it's on some Mike Tyson, Jake Paul. This is my
Uh,
hot take type joint where
oh man.
it's lulling the people to sleep to come back and say, "Hey, gotcha." Insert the
Right.
Kanye meme. And what I mean by that is this: one, I don't believe that the populace is content with the degradation of society. I think that you saw that in the pushback when the citizens were literally throwing the proletarians. Is that the correct term? I believe so. The guards.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I know what you're thinking about. Yeah.
Um,
It'll come to me in a second.
yeah.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, throwing them over the arena's edges and
Mm-hmm.
such, ledges and the edges of the platforms. Two, I would also argue that Senator Gaius meeting with Lucilla and the rest of the Senate that were willing to overthrow and perform the coup. This is their only means by which doing it. Free elections weren't happening; they were
Yeah.
stagnated. So the
Yeah.
only way to gain some type of semblance of political balance is to overthrow the government.
Yeah.
This meaning the emperors.
Yes.
Three, I would also argue that the using the military to do it is the way by which almost all governments inflict that type of change, where they say,
No
"Hey,
doubt.
look, I got this hidden army in the bushes or whatever have you, and we're going to allow them access in order to do that." Um, the concept of democracy and a republic is no, of course, it's not new.
Yeah.
Everybody wants an
But it's
equal
new
say.
then.
Yeah, it's new then,
It's new then.
but
Yeah.
everybody wants a fair shake at life.
Yeah.
They want the ability to have growth and expansion and upward movement and social mobility. Um,
Yeah.
in this particular society, though, it's very like caste oriented. You have
Mm-hmm.
political figures, you have the Roman elite, you have the proletariat, where the masses, if they are able to be expert salesmen or craftsmen, then they have a niche. And then everybody
Yeah.
else, which is the majority who aren't specialized labor or whatever have you, if they're not in the military, then they're left to their own devices. And some unfortunately have severe vices. And with that being said, I would argue that the bulk of Rome are just hardworking people who want a fair shake at life. And slavery or servitude isn't the same by which we know it to be under the auspices of, say, race itself being the lone determining factor as to why someone is enslaved. It's
Yeah.
really because of the political advances that are
Yes.
made in infringing upon other people's rights and liberties.
Yeah.
Which makes me also, I want to get this in. Shout out to Peter Mensa, who bulked up for this joint. He's always, whether it be in 300 or whatever have you, he's always getting the lesser end of like these Greek and Roman soldiers. Man, first he catches a boot to his chest. Now he's
Oh
getting,
yeah. Yeah. Right. 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 Yeah.
yeah,
Same dude. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That is true.
and shout out to the monkey biter, Paul as Lucius in this joint. Like, I've never seen someone just get
Oh,
so,
missed out.
yeah, getting so visceral
Yeah.
where he bites a baboon. Like,
Yeah.
wow, I
So
would never thought of that, man.
I just wanted, so yes, I understand that. We're gonna agree to disagree about
Yeah.
what the Roman populace looks like, because Rome still has to take the responsibility of getting the Commodus half brothers as the emperors. And the reason why I'm saying that is, like, in the first movie, okay, you see how Commodus becomes the king.
Yeah, he killed
You
his
had
dad.
Marcus Aurelius, he killed him. He's the next in line, he became it.
Hmm.
Maximus dies. He says, give it to the Senate. The Senate ends up with these two dudes.
No,
And the
but
other
those
guys,
guys overthrew the Senate. That's what I'm saying. Like,
right,
historic.
but we don't, but that's right. And so the historical part, okay, cool. But they're also Romans. They're
Mhm.
within the country. They're not the Carthaginians coming in and getting them from the outside.
Fair point. Fair point.
They are, even within the Roman society itself, is producing these types of people
Oh, okay.
who are just trying to create a more
Okay.
crazy despotic form of leadership,
Mhm.
right? And it's gonna get into the cake and hate that we're in a second, but that's why the character of Acacius, I think that's how you say his name is, right? Who's played by
Pedro
um,
Pascal.
Pedro Pascal, right? That character to me is criminally underutilized in this movie
I think he's poorly
because
written, to be honest with you.
there's a chance to, okay, so because there's a chance that they could have done something kind of fresh with that character,
Hmm.
but even he comes off as like Maximus light, in that he's got the same plan that Maximus had,
If you,
right? The same thing. We're gonna sneak into the thing at night. We're gonna free this dude, and the same thing happens, and everybody gets caught, and the same thing happens, and he ends up in the arena just like Maximus did, right? And he ends up getting killed, and it was kind of like I kind of feel like they wasted the character, but even that is just still running on the same story. Like,
but that
even
wasn't his
he's like,
idea, though. Remember,
right,
Lucilla
but
did
he's
it
still,
both times to these dudes, so
yes,
she's the
but he's
bad
still,
person.
yes, but he's also with Lucilla, and he's in service to these maniacs,
Hmm.
right? He's doing the same thing. Like, at least when Maximus was the general, he had respect for Marcus Aurelius. Um, Cassius is the general, and he's like, these dudes are terrible. So much so, and this is a great line when they were good. When after they caught him and they were like lecturing him, and he was
Oh, he's
like,
like,
"You want to torture me? Just torture me, but don't lecture me." So I'm sorry, I don't want to hear nothing else y'all got to say because y'all dudes is
but
crazy.
that's because they
It's,
kept his wife captive and they held that over his
yes,
head. So
yeah,
it's not like
yeah,
he's a willing participant. I would also
yeah.
argue from the historical standpoint, Carcat Car C is
See, right?
only
See,
C is only the emperor.
like collusion.
Yeah. C
Just call him C.
C's only the, and no disrespect to our man C. Uh but Emperor C is only the emperor because of his father appointing him as the emperor, and then he has his brother appointed as co-emperor by his father as well. That's the historical narrative. I believe
Yes,
that they borrowed that as well to implement that into this
yes,
case. So therefore,
absolutely.
I get what you're saying about the same environment that cultivates all this madness is the true essence as to why these dudes feel the ability to do these things. Because if you allow somebody to do it, then they're only going to do what you allow them to do. So I get that point. However, the fear and the terror that is instilled by these people with the fanaticism of the soldiers that like essentially the equivalent of the Emperor's Guard,
Yeah, the Imperial. Yeah, they're
the
the Imperial Guard.
guard,
Yes.
were basically surrounding these guys. I get it because that scene in the war room where he's like, just use a sword and cut him off at right there, and he's running. He's going like they're going to let him stab them willingly, just
Mm-hmm.
stand there and get me. No, that's not going to happen. They're going to beat him down, and then his brother's going to have to rescue him. But with that being said, that element where, and this harkens back to where Lucilla says, imagine being so fearful of your brother that you have to hide your son in fear that he's going to kill his only
Yeah,
nephew. And I think
yeah,
that is so palatable around each and every person where you could cut it with a knife. Like the tension
yeah,
is high. The rumors that Lucius was dead or that he was the son of an incestuous interaction between Commodus. This is a society where just from their own family, they have
yeah.
so many emperors who are on some like, yo, Caligula, Nero, Commodus, like it's embedded within them. There's something wrong with them. So the target is really is in particular a certain branch of that family, not
I got you.
necessarily everyone else. But with that being
So,
said, it is
so,
what
so
it
to
is.
put, so to put a, so to put a pin on that part.
Yeah.
So, are you saying that the issue that Rome has through these movies that we see is the leadership,
Mm,
not the people?
definitely.
Okay. All right.
Definitely.
I'm gonna disagree with that, but I see how you got there. For me, the people are the reflection of the leadership. The
Okay.
people choose to have these people as leaders.
Mm.
They choose to create the environment where this happens, and they're distracted by throwing some people into an arena and letting them fight rhinoceros. Because it's like
Yo, was
you got
it just me, or were they really shaving the horn of a rhinoceros
yeah
when they
to
were
make it sharper.
Oh, they
Yeah,
were. Okay, all
yeah,
right.
yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
wait, what?
This is like, yeah. I mean, like, only thing that they've advanced on is the type of animal.
Oh,
The man versus beast joint that they're
woo,
doing in the
they
that
took
they're
it
doing
to
readers
another
now.
level.
It's a completely different thing, man. So, all right. So I know like we're a little bit over time. So,
Yeah.
how we normally do. So let's jump into the cake, man, because I know it's like some things that you love, some things I loved, and let's get into it.
Yeah. So pardon us, folks, if I rush through my joint. Cake. Denzel Washington already talked about his superior
Cooking,
acting skills, burning
cooking.
him to death, embarrasses anyone else around him. Only person who seems to really enjoy this. And I like CJ thought Ridley Scott, when doing this, he went to the screenplay writer and was like, "Yo, we got to add more Denzel, more flavoring, more seasoning."
Absolutely. I halfway through it, I was thinking, oh, they're gonna try and get Denzel another Academy Award here, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah. And I mean, you can make a case that he might be the leading actor in the film.
Oh, no question. No question.
He's not, although it seems to be about Lucius. I feel like Denzel got about as much time, certainly more
If not more.
lines.
Yeah. Nah,
Right.
I would argue that Denzel is the leading role. I mean, excuse me, the leading actor. And I would say that even though the story is about Lucius and his family, this is really about Denzel getting his revenge on the entire city of Rome. Um,
Yeah, and the Aurelius family.
yeah, definitely. Uh, no question. Cast. another stellar ensemble cast. I love seeing certain actors come back. Sir Jacoby, um, Lucilla, you name it. Even the flashbacks with Russell Crowe. Um,
Yeah.
I'm always a fan of who they get to portray these individuals.
Yeah.
3, the scenery and the sets. Trivia. Ridley Scott had to buy back the same property that he had sold to the city of Morocco in order to utilize this, so that's a cost of
Interesting.
cut down on the cost effectiveness. Um,
Interesting.
and then last but not least, the assortment of quotes. I can't get into all of them, but I will say my favorite two. Um, one is definitely this one right here. You will be my instrument. I love that joint. There's a lot more to it, but the irony, the symmetry, the harkening back to other catchphrases and such throughout this movie, as well as the original Gladiator. That's my joint. And it's not lost, or should not be, that my other favorite joint is "I own your house. I want your loyalty." Um, I think that
Denzel.
joint is dope. I just picture, like, you ever see Doctor what is it, Inspector Gadget, where Doctor Mad
Yeah. I
spins the
heard
joint
that.
in the
Yeah.
chair,
Yeah.
stroking the
Yeah.
cat, you only see his
Yeah.
metal arm. That,
Yeah.
that I can picture that joint, like in the dark,
Yeah.
turn around, and you just hear that raspy, evil voice with the sinister grin and laughter at the
Hmm.
end. Those are my joints.
Did they ever show the leader, the what his face looked like in
Nah,
Dark?
never, never.
I was okay. All right. Well, I'm glad I found that out. Yeah. So I mean, mine's thing's very similar to yours. The cast is great. By the way, Musilla coming back. Now that movie was 20 something years ago.
Still looks the same.
Looks the
Genetics,
same, right?
genetics,
Yeah.
man.
Really, really like looks good, man.
She's
And it
also
doesn't.
Hippolyta in Wonder Woman.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really good
Connie
and
Nielsen.
good
That's who it is.
and
Connie
really
Nielsen.
good in this movie, similar to the way she was in the last
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, like the characters, of course, good actors, and they brought back some faces that you recognize. So
Mhm,
I definitely like that. Also we talked about Denzel. That's one of mine too. Love Denzel.
mhm.
I love the score. So the
Yeah.
score of the movie, the background music really fits the mode
Yeah.
perfectly. There's like the ominous sort of foreboding in certain parts where certain mysteries are being revealed.
Yeah.
In the arena, the music that's playing, it fits in perfectly with the sound of like every blow, every slash. The score is very, very well done. And I also really like the initial battle scene
Yeah.
when the Romans are coming on the water and everything.
Yeah.
It really shows the how fragile people are in war,
Mhm.
because so many people die before the war even got started. Like people
And
died
that's
of
how it
bombs.
is too, though.
Yeah, they get hit by arrows randomly,
Yeah.
or a fireball hits and blows everybody up. And that's before they even get to the man-to-man combat part where other people are getting cut to pieces.
Yeah, the thing that I liked about this movie too, just as like a sidebar, is that the visceral, gritty action scenes, like this one was like, oh, we didn't give enough of the action scenes in which people were grotesquely impaled or
Mm-hmm.
bombardier and things of that ilk. So there's my catchphrase. I got to throw it
There
in
it
there.
is. There it is. Yep.
They just went all out in this one, and I love that they doubled down. And like the thing that really shocked me was um women actually partaking in the violence and then in the fighting.
Yeah.
Like, they were hands on. They didn't show
Yeah.
that in the first one. They made it seem as
Yeah.
if they were very delicate, no women, no kids. But
Mm-hmm.
no, in history, it's shown that no, women were active participants in war and engagements in battle. So I definitely love
Absolutely
that.
true.
But
Especially when they're coming after you and your country.
yeah,
Everybody got to fight.
you gotta jump.
Every, everybody got to jump in.
Let's get to the hate though, man. I got
All
plenty.
right.
What you
All
rocking with though?
right.
Yeah, plenty.
All right, I'll go through mine first. I'll speed through my joints.
Yeah.
We sort of talked about this. I think if there's anything that hurts the movie a little bit, it feels more like a remix of Gladiator to
Mhm.
me than a sequel to it.
Yeah.
There are some elements that are kind of advancing the story, but for me, it kind of felt like kind of a cyclical thing.
Agreed.
And so that was like one of the things that I didn't really like too much.
Mhm.
I did feel like the Lucius identity thing kind of hung over the movie a little bit.
Mm.
You knew from the beginning that that's what it was very clear.
Yeah.
It just either have it from the beginning. Like, I would have even liked to have seen him from the beginning saying, yo, I'm Lucius. I'm going to go back to Rome because I'm going to go back and fix everything.
Yeah. I would
That
like
would
that.
have made more sense than him like pretending like he's not, and then pretending like he's not talking to his mom
Yeah.
when he is. Just please. That was enough. So that wasn't. I really
Yeah.
love that. I talked about before. They wasted it. To me, they wasted Acacius in this.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved to see a Rome where Acacius was the emperor, and
Mm.
where Acacius is like the strongman emperor who's also advancing the ideology of Rome at that time, which is Rome, we're conquering people, we're bringing people under the empire, we're civilizing these savages. We the man, we come to your trap, take over your trap,
Kirk,
dance in your trap.
Kirk Cousins.
That's a, that's what I want. That's what I wanted to see that, and then also that way, if like Lucius wants to fight against him, then there's like a real battle of equals. You know what I mean? Because I'm not buying Denzel fighting fighting Lucius at the end. Like that's a
Yeah.
that's a 2 minute fight. So that's pretty much the things that I didn't like about it. It's a couple of plot holes, but that's some nitpicky stuff, man. What you got?
I definitely agree with that part. It would have been dope if they could have somehow made it like, not that he's sniveling, but like just make Denzel more of the brains behind things, who's plotting and scheming and bringing about the downfall of Rome, and
Yeah,
have Acacius be that general figure. Like, nah,
yeah,
Romans, we this is how we get down.
yeah,
We go from town to town and we just wreck shop and then we come home.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, because the character is good.
mhm.
But once they decided he was going to be a good guy, then he becomes, to me, it became like he was like Maximus Light, or
Yeah,
like
and but
he was like sugar-free Maximus at that
But they
point.
didn't have to make him quote unquote a good guy. They just could have been like, yo, my program is this. I
Yeah,
am all about the
yeah,
advancement of me and my people. And if it comes at a cost of you and yours,
yes,
so be it. And that just be the way it is. I
yeah,
think that somehow, some way they could have gotten rid of the twins. And because this, like you mentioned, is a historical fiction, they didn't necessarily have to adhere to all of the tenets in which,
no, you don't have
oh
to do it.
yeah, it was Marcinus who helped kill the twins.
Yeah,
They could have somehow maneuvered that a little bit better. So that's one of my hate. Two, definitely not down with the killing of Senator Gracchus, Lucilla,
yeah.
and
Gracchus says you're mad, yo.
no, because
You've
they
always rocked with Gracchus.
yeah, because you need that. He represents a archetype of the elder figure who is the sense of
I
reason.
know, I
So
know, I
that's why
know.
I rock with him, man. And I'm gonna stick to that. I'm gonna die on that hill, yo.
I know, I
Gracchus
know.
was
Yeah,
right is on my t-shirt.
Gracchus was
Gracchus,
right.
yeah, that's gonna be on my joint, yo. I like, yeah, and I'm a fan. I'm an admirer of Connie Nielsen and her acting ability. So to see her get shot in the middle of the sternum like that, that just seemed like some cold-blooded, like underhanded, unnecessarily joint. Like the writers were like, yo, we can't be bringing this chick back. She looks better than us. She's in better shape than us.
She gotta
Like, she
go.
got to go. That seemed like on some pettiness. I'm not with the whole over reliance dependency on Gladiator. It just seems like it was, like you said, it's
Yeah,
like a remix, almost like an extension.
yeah,
Here's the director's cut of Gladiator.
yeah,
Definitely not with the truncated, compressed timeline. It just seems like everything is happening within a week and it's not spaced out properly. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
The
Like
time, yeah,
the
yeah. Everything, yeah. It was 7 days. 7 day.
like
By day four,
are you
it was chaos.
like
Yeah,
you serious
yeah,
right now? That's how they
yeah.
get down. And these legions that are coming from, I think, Antiope or Antopia or wherever it was that they were on the outskirts
Sure.
of, they're not traveling that fast to get there simultaneously while Denzel's trying to do the 1-2. Let me get out of here. Irish leaving at the party joint. Man, that's not happening. And I'm not with the whole thing of like, yo, if I got 6,000 warriors on my side and Lucius is traveling after me and I'm the head person in charge, and all I gotta do is say, wait a minute, I'm with my people. Get this dude. He's not
Yeah,
gonna
that's a plot. That was a plot
yeah, he's
hole.
not you
That
know
was yeah. That was one of the plot holes that was
and
in
then
there.
all
Yeah.
of a sudden the head guy who's in charge of the Roman legion for me is gonna be like, no, 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 let them fight this out. That's not happening. Like,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah. They
Romans
wanted
are
to
gonna
go.
let this outsider come in and take over? Really?
It didn't make it. Yeah. It was all. It was. Yes. Yes. Yes.
I'm gonna leave it there, but let's just say there's a lot of things that I'm just not messing with that are out of the question. All
Yeah.
right, speaking of questions,
Okay. Good. Let's jump into it. What you got for me?
man. All right, first and foremost, how does this young boy survive in the desert all that time before meeting the people of this civilization out in northern Africa?
Yeah. Well, It's interesting, man. I think it's John Henrik Clark has always said that African people welcome everyone
Mm.
and they take care of everyone, right? And historically,
Hmm.
African society was very accepting of
Yes.
outsiders, right? Maybe to its detriment or to its detriment.
Mm.
So I can buy that Lucius, if Lucius can get to North Africa, which he obviously did, somebody takes care of him. People don't want to see starving kids, especially in places where they feel like they're starving. So I can imagine people reached out, took him under his wing,
Mm.
and it's not lost on me that Lucius is a non-melanated person in a land of melanated people who accepted him.
Mm.
I think like that's like a really interesting kind of story there. And there's this concept they have sometimes in movies called like black facilitation of white development.
Mm.
And you see it in other movies where like the black characters kind of help the white character to move forward
Hmm.
and then they kind of stay where they were. And you see that in like The Green Mile is a great example of that. And so I think there's some of that playing out. But anyway, that's the bottom line. People saw like, starving boy, took care of him. And then he proved like he'd grow, he's got some good genes. He's got, which I gotta go back to this. I gotta go back and do this. I'm glad I just brought that part up. I cannot buy that Lucilla always knew
That was one of my
that.
questions.
Oh, okay.
No, no,
Then
go ahead. No, go ahead. You on track?
I can't buy that Lucilla knows that Lucius is Maximus's son and never told him.
Mm.
I just can't buy that, especially when you go back. I mean, we're having just watched Gladiator last week.
Mm-hmm.
There were times where after his family had been killed and he thought he had nothing to live for,
Why didn't she tell him? Yep.
she could have said, "Hey, that little boy is yours." You know what I mean? Like,
Now you have something
you
to
got a
live for.
reason. You work this out.
We
Figure out
can,
how to stay alive. We can make this. We
we
can
can
come
make this
back.
work. we can run it back.
We can run it back, right? we can run it back. We got Shaq, we got Kobe. We can run it back. Like, see, I didn't. That was a major thing that I just did not like. The movie could have just gone without that actually, because that actually kind of hurt. It kind of hurt that Maximus didn't know that, and that she was so certain of it and never told him. Anyway, that's it.
Now, with that being said, why is the Roman mob so enjoying of the violence?
Because that's where they are, man. And this is what I'm saying. The society has decayed down to the point where people just want to see violence. They want to see blood. They want to see gore. They want to see suffering, because that's what it is. Like when you have a populace that enjoys watching the suffering of others, it's a wrap. It's a wrap for that. And what's say and like there's this book called the 16, I believe it's called like something like the 16 crucified messiahs. And it talks about how in all these different societies, there have been people who were labeled as prophets or messiahs or saints who come along and try to say, yo, why are y'all doing this? It's like, why are you treating people like this? Fix the society. And every time when people like that come along, they help to advance it. They help to save the society for a while, if you will. But the society always kills these people.
Mm.
Or even to this day, like always gets rid of those people to the detriment of everyone else. And sometimes everyone else, a lot of those people want to see that person be gone.
Mm. That's tough right there. So what was the original plan for Lucius?
So I don't think that it's kind of like a historical, like a rewriting of it,
Mhm.
because what I would have thought was Lucius would have stayed with his mom. The Senate would run Rome, so there wouldn't have to be an emperor, and he would one day become a senator, and he would that's what probably should have happened.
Mm-hmm.
But the retelling of it is like, as soon as they took Maximus away, Lucilla was like, you got to get out of here,
Mm.
right? So it's almost like she didn't trust the people. She didn't trust the Senate. She didn't trust all these people were gonna do what Maximus said. And she also apparently didn't trust Maximus's army, because Maximus's army also should have been acting to reinforce everything. So I don't know what the plan was. Maybe that's part of the problem.
Mm.
I don't know. I say what I said. I don't know what the plan for Lucius was, but it wasn't go to Africa, meet an African woman, and just chill. That wasn't. That was his plan.
It wasn't to go on vacation and end
That
up
was his
shacked up.
plan. That was his plan. Yeah. Yeah. Which, by the way, my favorite character in this movie is Rudy, which is the most
Oh, Ravi?
Ravi, sorry. Ravi, the most non-Roman name in the whole thing.
Mm.
But it's like his story, being a gladiator, he becomes a doctor, he's trying to help other people. And then he's got like that part where he's talking to Lucius and he says, Lucius asks him, why don't you go back home? You're a free man now. And he's like, I met a woman here. My kids have eyes that are as blue as yours. I can't go back home because I'm not culturally that person anymore.
Yeah.
We're Romans now. I'm a Roman now. But he doesn't say it with joy. And he doesn't say it with pride. It's almost like, y'all won. Y'all got me. y'all got me. And this is where it is. But at least I'm not going to add to the chaos. And that's why I like that character the most in the movie.
I dig it. And then my last question is, so who actually benefits from the violence?
A good question. Who's benefiting? It's kind of, have you ever seen that picture where there's 3 guys sitting on a branch and they all have saws and they're all sawing a different part of the branch, right? And one is sawing like the part that he's holding on to, and the other person is sawing the part between the two of them.
Yeah.
And the third person is sawing the whole branch everybody's sitting on. That's what the violence is like here. Everybody feels like I'm kind of getting over on this other group,
Right.
but really everybody's in jeopardy because of it. The gladiator is thinking, if I live, I can become a Roman. The Roman is thinking, I don't care if this gladiator lives or dies. The emperor is thinking, I don't care what happens in here because I just want the people not thinking about the fact that I'm running a crooked business. And everybody's screwed. So I think that's all. The answer is no one's benefiting from that because it's archaic, man. So that's why John's not around anymore.
I dig it. Well, Rome is still around. It's just not of the same
not like
prominence.
That. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it ain't like that. They ain't.
Yeah, they're not as relevant as they once were. The cultural epicenter.
Fighting people anymore.
Nah, not at all.
All right, that's your questions.
Yeah, that's a wrap for me.
All right, I got 3 for you. First, what, if anything, could have been different about this film that would have made it equal? Is there anything that could have been done that could have made it equal to the first Gladiator?
Definitely. Originality. I'm going with a hip hop expression. This movie could have done so much more if it would have stuck to being original. Yes, you can borrow or even draw an inference to Gladiator because that's the reason why everybody's coming, and it has to stay within that existence, that timeline, that world it's created. But it could have developed new problems, and between the two of us, we've already given the screenplay. You have this great character, you have a great actor in Pedro Pascal, he does his thing, et cetera, and have him be that figure in which Roman society is based upon warlike mechanisms. And then in turn, you have this figure in Lucius trying to reclaim what was his. And sure, Acacius could have been married to Lucilla, but it could have been more of like a marriage of convenience, her trying to save herself. Once again, she finds herself in another dangerous climate, and she's using her political shrewdness to navigate treacherous waters. And then in turn, you have this other sub element there where you have Denzel's character come into the mix. And then in turn, he's trying to seek vengeance for being a former slave and trying to exterminate the entire bloodline of Marcus Aurelius. And then in turn, you could have had that moment of that coming to the mountain moment where Lucius visits Maximus's tomb and he sees the honoring and the garments and such, and he says, you know what, I was lost but now I'm found. I'm going to honor my family, my traditions, my gods, etc., etc.
Yeah, and if you put all that in the Chat GPT, it would come out with a script, and it might come out with that version of the movie. But there's something that you said in last week's show, and I'm not going to get it 100% right, but it was the idea that when the first time a movie is made, there's a certain originality to it. And then what usually happens is as you make sequels, it sort of becomes more formulaic. And I think you use the example of like instant oatmeal, like instant pancakes kind of stuff. The audience has to kind of buy into the instant pancake thing and want to see essentially the same thing over and over again with slight changes in order for that to continue.
True.
I don't know if this movie, I don't know if there ever can or should be a Gladiator 3. Maybe the money will say it should, but this is not like, this franchise isn't like Mission Impossible or the Fast and the Furious, where you can kind of keep making the same sort of movie over and over again. And you can just add a different stunt or a different car. And it's entertaining because the first one, to your point, had something so visceral about it that it sticks with you, right?
Yeah.
And so some of that is lost, right, on the
Fair
second
point,
one. So
fair
I get
point.
that. So I get that point, man. That was a good point you made last week too. So I wanted to make
Appreciate
sure I
that,
brought
man.
that back up.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, no doubt, man. Next question. So, what other kind of animals could they have fought in the arena? Because they got baboons, they got rhinoceros, they got sharks. Like, what other kind of stuff could they have figured out to put into this arena to kill a human being?
Well, I think the one thing that people seem to forget is that simultaneously all of these things interacting at the same time. There were woolly mammoths during this
Oh,
period.
he could have put that in.
They could have put in a woolly mammoth.
Yeah.
That would have been something. That would have been something else to see. They could have brought in gorillas.
Yeah, there ain't no human beating a gorilla though. That's but maybe that's the point.
Yeah, that's the point. The emaciated baboons, that's a different story. All right, I get it, whatever have you. But and they've already did the lions and the tigers thing.
The tigers, yeah.
But definitely a bear of some sort. I could see that.
Good one. Yeah.
Crocodiles.
One dude on a bear and one dude on a tiger.
Yeah. Hey, or something. Crocodiles and alligators.
Yep.
I would have liked to seen that. So yeah, I mean, they're sitting on a menagerie, and the real life Coliseum came in layers. So they did hold aquatic warfare there. So that's realistic.
Okay.
The ability to transport
Cool.
the sharks, that's a totally different ball game, but I think it's possible. You know what I mean? Like they could create tanks. You know what I mean? Transport these jokers. Yeah.
There it is. All right. Third and final question, and it kind of deals with like the idea of sequels. So, in your opinion, what movie franchises have had sequels that were better than the originals? Because this is a good movie, but it's not, obviously it's not on the level of the first Gladiator. So, what movies were there where the sequel actually surpassed the original?
Godfather, Star Wars, Matrix. Debatable, but definitely Star Wars, Godfather, and then my number 3. I only threw in the Matrix because we've covered it, and that's a kind of like one of our tenets in the tent poles. But my third pick, I'm gonna go John Wick, man.
John Wick. So you think John Wick 2 is better than John Wick 1?
Yeah, because it builds upon the lore.
Yeah.
An honorable mention to the Rocky joints because we did Rocky, so I'm trying to go off the movies we've done and such.
Gotcha. Yeah, the John Wick 1 I agree with. John Wick 1 is good. I thought John Wick 2 was better.
Yeah.
So when you said Star Wars, you're talking about Empire Strikes Back versus New Hope. Yeah, definitely. What if I added to that Terminator 2 over Terminator?
Oh yeah, easily. And
that was a good one.
And now that I think about it, Aliens.
Yes, Aliens better. Aliens.
Yeah,
I
the
agree
second
with that
is
one too.
better than the first joint, and the first one was good. All-star cast.
What about back in the day, Superman 2, Christopher Reeves over the first Superman?
Hell, you know what? Yeah, man, you cooking.
I like that with the 3 guys from Krypton.
Yeah,
that was a good. Yeah, that was a good one, man. That was a good story. Let me see. Is there anything
might even
else?
have to go with it. You know what? We can't leave out this without saying The Dark Knight.
Man, how about that one?
Yeah.
We need to do The Dark Knight at some point.
Oh, no question.
The Dark Knight, amazing. Yeah. So you can do it.
You can. It can be done.
It can be done. It's hard though.
Oh yeah.
It's hard because we laid it in a couple of examples, but how many sequels for how many movies have there been?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. All right. Good stuff there, man. So look, so with that said, man, let's jump into the popcorn, man. So how many boxes you giving?
Yeah. Despite my harsh criticism, I'm going with 4. I'm going with 4 because I think it's a good date movie. It covers a lot of different topics. Some of my favorite quotes are actually from the opening scene that I didn't cover, in which they're talking about I am with you, you are with me, this ring, and et cetera, et cetera. And even then his mother giving him the ring that was from his grandfather that was bestowed upon his father and that his mother had, and then now him. So that tradition. So that covers the romantic joint. You know how I like the amalgamations of the murder comedy joint. There's some Joker type-esque laughs in
Yeah, I
here.
know.
So
Yeah.
yeah, man, it covers a lot of different boxes. Checks them off real quick. I like that.
Yeah, 4 boxes. Yeah, I would also say that this is also a movie where I think it's better if you watch it in a movie
Oh,
theater
no question.
because the sound and everything is
Hmm.
just you just experience it differently.
Yeah.
I liked it too. I thought it was good. I'm giving it 3 boxes. I might pump it up to 3.5 after this conversation.
Mm.
It's so hard because maybe I wonder when I was watching it, maybe if I had not watched Gladiator in like 10 years and I'd kind of forgotten how great it was, maybe that kind of hurt me watching this a
Mm.
little bit because like it's kind of like putting two
Yeah,
things
yeah, yeah, I see
so
that.
close together, you know what I mean? But it's good, and I would definitely recommend people seeing it. I think you'll enjoy it. It's a good time at the movies. For a movie that's 2 hours and some change, it actually feels like it goes by pretty quick.
Yeah, it
So
it does.
it's entertaining, and the actors working, and obviously, Denzel's cooking the whole time. So
Yeah.
yeah, got it. All right. Here's with our conclusion, my brother, to wrap this one up.
Yes, sir. Featuring a wider range of motions and the constant changes in the tone of the movie, the film delves into the dark and stark contrast between Lucius's sacrificial spirit and the anarchy that is reigning supreme in Rome. His mother, Lucia, and the morally complex Roman general Acilius, I butchered his name,
Okay,
illustrate
just
illustrated by Pedro Pascal, adds layers of integrity and intrigue to the storyline. The presence of my man Denzel Washington playing Marcinius is introduced on an element of hope amidst the chaos, as well as he embodies the potential for redemption and change. However, his turn to being a true villain is enamoring. This sequel honors the spirit of its predecessor while exploring the ramifications of sacrifice and vengeance in a world fraught with moral ambiguity. The
yeah.
detailed character development and plot intricacies create a compelling tale of power dynamics where honor complicates and completes the personal vendettas. Through intense drama and action, Gladiator 2 emphasizes the enduring legacy of Maximus's and Marcus Aurelius's dream and the eternal struggle for justice and equality in a tumultuous society.
There it is, man. Yep. Yep. No doubt, man. Definitely a movie worth watching.
Yes.
Yeah, good one. Glad we did like these two, but next to each other. We're getting into the holiday season, and that's
Very
kind of
festive.
yeah, and that's kind of the spur our next one. So we will be back next week with another movie that's been in theaters not for a long time, really a couple of weeks now. But
Yes.
we'll be back talking about Red One. So
Hmm.
we'll be back to talk about that. We will be looking forward to seeing you or you seeing us see you talking about that. Once again, the Sticky Floors podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on Spotify. We are on a YouTube channel as well. We want you to like, subscribe, and share that as well. As Will said in the beginning, please give us your comments. They help us. We take them and incorporate them. And if you have recommendations, let us know. We'd be happy to cover those movies for you as well. Peace.